They're the liberal rednecks. They like cornbread and butt sex. They care way too much but don't give a fuck. They're the liberal rednecks that makes some people upset, but they got 3 big old dicks that you can suck.
Well, here we are.
Here we are.
Welcome to the podcast, everybody. I wanted to start it out with a classic technique wherein we butter y'all up and then ask you for something. A time-honored
Yeah,
approach.
all our mammals were did Mary Kay. We know how this goes.
Yeah. No, me and Drew were talking the other night in person just about how wonderful our fans are. But it's true. We, just so everybody knows, everywhere we go, which is nowhere anymore because the world ended, we never go anywhere. But back when we used to go places, the staff of those places, if we were coming back, like if it wasn't the first time there, invariably every single time in every single city, the staff would say something to us about how they looked forward to our weekend, not really so much because of us, because we don't hit, but because of our fans. And how great they are to deal with, how great our fans are to deal with, and they're sweet and nice, and they tip well and all this. Friend of the podcast, Carmen Morales, has told Drew recently, right, Drew, basically the same thing, that we have the nicest fans.
Yeah, and I think on a couple occasions, I don't know if they meant to, but they kind of outright have said, like, and by the way, it's not really because of you guys. Like,
yes,
it's because of your fans.
Yeah. But anyway, I mean, I appreciate that, because not everybody's like that if you're not aware at all. Some people have awful fans.
Yeah, I mean, human beings by and large are pieces of shit. So
yes, but if it's like some comics that I probably love, without naming any names, I bet their fans are sort of rough because they're like a good time. They're loud and drunk and that type of thing. That's part of their sort of whole deal. Or like, just, well, whatever. We ain't got to talk shit on anybody in particular, but there are people who the staff of these places say the exact opposite things to us about. They'll bring up other tours or other comics and be like, unlike these motherfuckers who, oh my God, what a nightmare those dipshits are.
Yeah.
So I'm
and now look, we got plenty of dipshits too, I'm sure.
Yeah. Some of y'all are dipshits. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, but usually y'all are the better type of dipshits. But anyway, just want to let you know how much we appreciate it and appreciate y'all sticking with us and everything. And so now for the request. If you haven't seen it already, I want to let you know that we're doing our very first quarantine comedy show. But because we are who we are, we're calling it Quarantine Comedy. And it's a virtual show. It's live on the internet. It is live. When you see us joking, that will be the moment in time in which we are joking. We'll be right there with you in that moment in a virtual space. So you go to rushtix.com and buy a ticket for it. And on the night of, which is Friday, August 7th at 9 p.m. Eastern, you click a little linky and it takes you to the virtual show and we'll get started. We're going to tell jokes and have a little after party and hang out and stuff. I'm sure we'll all be drunk.
I know for a fact I'll be drunk.
Yeah, I'll be drunk too. It'll be fun. So, you ain't got to get a babysitter or nothing. Just sit them in front of the TV or send them to the room or whatever. And then you go in a different room and turn your computer on and we'll all hit for a while. It'll be fun.
You can find a link on our website and on all of our social media if you don't want to search out Rush Tix. These links are going to take you to Rush Tix. If you don't want to go to that website, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah,
go fuck yourself. I'm in a bad mood today. But
it's wellreadcomedy.com. Obviously, is our website, and it's just right there at the top. It's the first thing you can see. It's a picture of all of us. What? It's not?
No, it is. It's the only thing we got.
Oh yeah.
It should be hard to find on there.
I thought you were about to tell me I was wrong. I was like, God damn, they switched the website in the past 2 seconds because I was just on there. And I would like to piggyback on what you said. I will absolutely be drunk. Because I found when we go on the road, don't get me wrong, we all three drink before we do a show because in my opinion, it would be irresponsible not to, if only for the fact that
for the fans.
It's for the fan. Well, like I think of it in terms of like we are allowed to, And so for all the people who aren't allowed to drink at their job, it would be real shitty.
I've been saying it.
You know what I mean? I mean, that's
drunk
true.
privilege.
Like
use your drunk privilege.
Yeah, they're there to live vicariously through us for 90 minutes. And like, if I had to go up there,
there are sober kids in Africa, Cho.
Yes, they are.
It just wouldn't make sense to
but
not
I will
get drunk.
I find
when there are sober kids in Africa.
I find that I've only done 2 of these Zoom shows, but the first one I was just super nervous for because I mean, it was just doing something new, and it's been a long time in my life since like my profession, at least, that I've done a new thing. I mean, you know, writing the pilot, that was new and scary, but so I got super, super drunk, and it turns out, oh man, I had a really fucking good time. Like, it was not the weird experience I thought. I mean, obviously it was a little weird, but like, it was a goddamn comedy show and a lot of fun. But I have found that when, I can go back and forth to my kitchen and take a pull of whiskey between jokes, it's gonna get wild. So I hope you join us on August 7th and get those tickets at wellreadcomedy.com.
Yeah, right on. Well, all right, moving on.
Well, can we not move on quickly? Just briefly, I want to say, and I think you'll appreciate this, Trey. It reminds me of Papal Batman. It reminds me of the time Cho did a whole bit about how he was sober and mushrooms were helping.
Mm-hmm.
There are times when Corey, I think he's doing a bit, and I try to jump in on the bit, and then and I think you also realize it. Oh, he wasn't doing a bit. Like, right. I mean, it was funny, but he meant that from his heart. I was like, oh yeah, we're doing a bit about how people got to live through us. Yeah. And he's like, exactly. Yeah. And I was like, no. Oh, we weren't okay.
Yeah. I mean that. I mean, it's like when Bert Kreischer found out that Andrew WK didn't party. That don't hit. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want that. Yeah. But it's like everybody just, these are not things a partier says to another partier, bro.
To another partier, dude.
but what I mean is, like, every single person that is at a comedy show drinking wishes so bad that at their job they could be drinking. And what fucking piece of shit I would be to be like, no, I don't do that, even though I'm allowed. I just completely take that for granted, you know, whatever. I'm just not that guy. I'm a good person.
For sure. And you know, if you've seen us live before, and I mean, maybe there's an exception. No, I can't think of any exceptions. We're talking about drinking, and we do drink, but like, it will still be a good show. It's not like we don't ever get up there.
Yeah, I didn't mean like I'm going to be out of fucking hand.
Sam Kinison in the early 90s or anything like that. Barely making sense. It's not going to be like that.
I've always made sense, but everyone listening right now is like, y'all have told no less than 3 stories about Drew doing mushrooms and screaming about 9/11. But I would posit that is still a phenomenal show.
Yeah. Oh, dude, that's the thing, is that like me and Trey were laughing real hard when you did that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So was the Secretary General of the State Commonwealth of Kentucky.
Yeah, they have the Commonwealth there.
Speaking of what's funny or not, one of the things I wanted to talk about this week, just a silly subject, is what makes a given word funnier in y'all's opinion? And here's what got me thinking about it. Last week when Trump was on his beans kick, you know, he was all about beans last week.
Just taking so much of my material.
Yeah, I know, right?
But this fucking hack.
He right. Well, okay. To that end, you know, yeah, it totally makes sense that you, the Cho, would have a lot of beans material. Like, people hear that and they're like, yeah, I guarantee he does.
Yeah.
But because that's what I got to thinking about, was like, people started sharing old bean memes.
That's
like, there's the old Papa. It's like, I'm thinking about those beans.
Yeah.
And then of course the tweet this eating beans.
Yeah.
With the dude in the movie theater or whatever. And I was like, man, there's a lot of bean stuff out there.
Beans, the B sound in beans.
I know. Well, that's what I was about to say. I realized it's like it's because beans, I think beans are maybe like the very funniest food.
They are.
Is there a food, right? And why is that? You can't, because it's not, for people that don't
it's the
ever
farts.
think about shit like this, you can't just replace beans.
It's
farts are part of it.
It's a lot partially the farts, because I think, like,
the word.
The word does a lot for it. But like I think that if the song had been, you know, legumes, they're good for your heart. The more you eat them, the more you fart. Legume it wouldn't have got over as much as Beans. But like because of that song, and then you've got the famous scene in Blazing Saddles. Like no matter what, even if you are the most serious, sophisticated, lady, her ladyship, when you hear Beans, you think of farts. You just do.
True.
And again, the hard and sounds like they just fucking hit.
But
I would also say that in our accent and in most like urban black accents, Beans, it just, God, Beans is funny. Beans! It's all funny.
On the opposite spectrum of that, like the always go-to health food used to be like eat your broccoli. I think it's a lot to do. And that broccoli's not like the most healthy food ever, but it's always the punchline was broccoli. I guess it's turned into kale now, but that's still a K sound. And kuh. I'm telling you, dude.
Well, I wrote this down and was going to bring it up because I was thinking of it as the word. I was thinking about the word as like Beans sounds funnier, and I think like Beans does, but it definitely is hugely has to do with the farts part of it for sure. That I admit I wasn't even really thinking about because like you think about the way the way the word sounds, beats is almost the exact same word, and it's nowhere near as funny, in my opinion.
You forgot about farts.
Right, yeah.
I'm upset you forgot about farts.
I didn't forget about
me and Corey in different ways.
I didn't forget about the farts. I just in my head was like, why is that word funnier than other words? And I wrote a note down in my notes, and I didn't think about it anymore. But it's not. With Beans, it's not about the words; it's about the farts.
Do you think
it all comes back to the farts?
Do you think Beats having it's a homophone?
What?
Beats has a word that has nothing to do with food. Do you think that takes away from it?
You mean like Beats by Dre and shit like that? God damn it! When I was a young comic, and Beats by Dre had just come out, I had a joke that was. All we could afford was pickle beats or some bullshit like that. So I realized I have Beats material too that was old and shitty, but I had 15 minutes. Well, it wasn't 15 minutes. It's probably 12 minutes on Beans though.
Well, I want to be clear. I'm positing that as a possibility for what you were just saying, Trey, because I'm not willing to let go of the idea that Beans sounds funny as well as is associated with farts. The farts, as usual, farts are 80% of the comedy. But I still think it's the funniest or one of the funnier sounding food items. Yeah. And Beats somehow escapes that.
I mean, I agree with that. I agree with that. And I don't know exactly what it is either. It's just weird. Some things sound funnier. It's like, and I think some things just are funnier. Like one time when we were working on our pilot, I think it's okay to talk about this now because it's just one line from it. Obviously, that pilot didn't happen.
Definitely allowed to talk about the thing that doesn't exist.
Yeah, I know we're allowed to. I just meant like, is it a good idea? And I don't see why it wouldn't be. We were talking about a line in there about where one of the characters said, the town next door, basically the town next door, they've all been uppity and they've all thought they're better than everybody else ever since they got that prison at first. It's like ever since they put that prison in, they think they're hot shit, which I think is funny.
It is funny.
But I was advocating for, I was like, make it a women's prison.
Yeah, I remember that.
I was like, ever since they got that women's prison, they think they're hot shit. And our showrunner was like, why? He's like, that's adding an extra word. Why is that?
Hat on a hat.
I was like, it's just funnier. And he's like, why is it funnier? And I was like, I don't know. That's just funnier.
I mean, but, there's a lot of things like I can't understand. And he's a more brilliant comedy writer than me, without a doubt. But like, I can't fathom how you wouldn't just know that's funny. Or like, it's being a specific prison is way funnier. Like a women's, my brain immediately starts building.
Well, also, it's like extra funnier for it to be uppity about, which is why I wrote that joke, Trey. But you were advocating for it. But I think that it's partially that. The more specific, beans and farts. All right, you think about beans, you think about farts. Women prison. Why would that be more uppity? Because like having women shit's uppity. Like I'm not saying women are uppity, but their stores are uppity. Yeah, their fucking clothes are uppity. Like they have nicer shit than us. Of course, they have nicer prisons. Why wouldn't they?
Yeah. I agree. No, again, it's definitely funnier to me, and I don't like to always get into the why is this funnier than this, because like what's the old expression, like comedy's like a frog, like you can dissect it, but after you do, it's dead.
It's dead.
You know,
I kind of do like it though. I mean,
no,
I don't know if
I
I
go
like
back
doing
and
it.
forth.
Yeah, I don't know if I like doing it publicly because it does kill the joke. But among us, I like doing it. Kinda. I don't know.
Yeah,
I thought
guess I
Trey
don't.
was going to fight with me about that joke.
No.
I
I'm
think
saying
all geeked up for that.
I'm saying like I like doing it with beans and farts, but like, you know, I can't stand it when I have to do it with something of my own, because then it's like, oh God, I don't know if I'm having to explain it. It obviously didn't fucking work. I don't know.
You know what it is? It's when someone says it didn't work or thinks it didn't work or didn't get it, like on Twitter.
Yeah.
And then while you're explaining it, you know you're killing it. Whereas
I just don't do that anymore. I just fucking either
right.
delete the tweet or get off fucking Twitter.
Right. But if you're doing it like in a writer's room, it's like, yeah, I don't know. I didn't understand why I didn't get it either.
Yeah, you definitely do have to defend the shit in the writer's room, but like that's just one of those where I'm like, well, first off, it's just one more extra word, and like, I mean, it just is funnier. A women's prison is funnier than like Orange is the New Black was a comedy. Oz was dark. There you go. Yeah. Women's prison's funnier.
I don't think I said in the room what I just said to y'all, but I truly believe that. If we're making a joke about it being uppity, women's stuff is always nicer. Their stores are nicer. Restaurants geared towards them are nicer. Anything that's women specific in our society is nicer.
Sure.
I think it's also, there's a factor to it that's like the idea that people would brag about it being specific, like it's all kinds of regular.
Anybody
prison.
can have a prison.
Anybody can have a regular prison.
That's true.
We got a women's prison. How many women's prisons you know about? Yeah,
you know how badass our women are. Goddamn, women.
That also makes it funnier.
That is true. Hell, you might have added women to it, because if that was your motivation, that's fucking great. And if I did do it, I'm brilliant.
I clearly wasn't the one. I didn't do shit, but I did think it was funnier, if that means anything.
Well, it was funnier. Whoever it was, it's funnier to make it women's, and I think you're actually more right. I think the thing about it being uppity, people are bored for the exact reason we said they'd be bored, and I'm into it because I'm a nerd. But it is definitely funnier because of the uppity aspect of it, and it's definitely what you said. It's like, yeah. Look, man, every fucking piece of shit small town in this fucking country has a prison.
Yeah,
right.
But
ours has a book
we
club.
got women's one, and you can't do kids prison because then everybody gets that's too far. That's like but I don't want to make it weird. Kids. Yeah. I want to put women in prison. But kids,
hell yeah.
Speaking of, here's something I wanted to bring up at some point on here for a minute, and it has to do with like something being funny or not. I hope people listening find this funny because I always thought this was hilarious. It's actually a shout out to an old boy that started comedy with me and you, Drew, but then quit years ago, and I ain't seen him in those years
Derek?
since. No, not Derek. Who rules? Shout out
Paul
Derek.
P.
I love Derek. No, not Paul P. either.
We were talking about prison.
We went opposite ends of the spectrum, but opposite of Ravenly.
Well, this
I went
guy's
for the
kind of
best
in the middle of those two on the spectrum. Do you remember Jimmy Wilder, Drew?
He's definitely on the spectrum. Hell yeah, I remember.
So, Jimmy Wilder was just like old boy from a redneck little town and was pretty redneck, but he was like a one-liner comic. He did it was like Mitch Hedberg style stuff, but out of this guy's mouth, you know. And he was like, he started around the same time as I did, and at first it was real simple shit where he would be like, there's a somewhere in the Atlantic Ocean, there's a ship or there's a freighter, and somewhere in the Atlantic Ocean there's a freighter carrying a cargo of nothing but potatoes. And every one of them is carved in the shape of a wiener. It's a dictatorship. Stuff like that.
I remember that. Yeah. I remember this guy.
When he first started out, but then, and he always hit for me, but he started getting pretty quickly. He started getting way weirder and more subversive.
Well, yeah, you can only go one direction with that.
Well, I think it was partially, and I'd love to hear your theory on this, Trey. I think it was partially like this dude was the weird redneck. Yeah. And dictatorship made them laugh. He finally found some other weirdos and was like, "Oh, son, it's time."
Yeah, probably. But either way, he started getting weirder and more subversive and stuff. And I've always remembered this bit that I'm about to relay for y'all because let me preface it by saying, and I've told y'all to this before, you're going to remember it, but for the audience, anyway, when he did this, I saw him do this bit, buddy, it died. Like, it did not go over. Like, people did not like it at
I
the
immediately
fucking
remembered the
side
bit
splitter.
now.
At the
Me
side
too.
splitters.
That's why I'm laughing.
Side splitters in Knoxville. I was in the back losing it. I thought it was great, but the whole crowd, they hated it. And I'm paraphrasing, and I, probably would not do this, but again, he quit comedy a long time ago.
It's fine. Let it rip.
Here's a version of the.
You're also giving him credit.
Yeah, I am giving him credit because I've never forgotten this. But in the middle of his set, he goes, "Hey, does this make me gay? So let's say I go out to a bar and I meet another man and we hit it off, and I bring him back to my trailer with me, and we get in there and he crawls into my bed, and I crawl into bed with him, and I kill him and peel all the skin off his body, and then I lay there beside his corpse, and I get real close to it, where like my breath is on his face, but our lips don't never touch, and we lay there like that all night long. Does that make me gay?"
I would have been dying.
Dude, I know, because it's like that's
those
genuine.
jokes. And then like those jokes, like, does that make me gay? You think that's gonna go one way, and then it goes the fucking complete Bates Motel
it also,
way.
Like, to me, it's him making fun of that whole.
Yeah.
It's him making fun of that whole "does this make me gay" thing.
Yeah,
he's like, this is how stupid
satire.
that is. Yeah, right. And but buddy, that Knoxville audience was not having it.
They didn't like the gay murder satire.
I mean, it's also one step further where it's like you're making fun of that type of joke, but it's also making fun of men who, like, even in that situation, the person that's totally comfortable with doing all that would still be like, I ain't queer. I ain't queer.
Yeah, exactly.
Look, I'll wear their skin around my goddamn trailer, but I ain't queer.
But I ain't gay. Yeah, no, exactly. I always thought it was like kind of low key brilliant. That joke. It just didn't work at all.
I can't believe that Knoxville didn't like it.
To Jimmy.
Well, I would love to be there at the table if the comics tried to fix it for him, like almost tongue in cheek, like, I don't know what happened, Jimmy, but I do think part of it is
what do you even try to do?
It so like immediately.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's what, like, that would have worked on the internet a little bit. It's like this dude is standing right in front of you talking about wearing another dude's skin.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily blame. There's plenty to blame the people from Farragut for when they hate your jokes, but I don't necessarily blame them for being like, wait, what the fuck?
How early into his set was it?
I mean, I don't remember that, but I don't think it was. I don't think he opened with it. I'm pretty sure it was.
I was going to say, like, if that's your closer and you slowly build to I'm this weird type of dude, then it probably works. But yeah, I mean, if you just walk up and just that's your thing. I mean, again, Corey, the comedian, would immediately be like, okay, here we fucking go. This is going to be awesome.
Well, he also. Last thing I'll say about him, this is way dumber, but I've always remembered this too. He was up there on stage one night, and somebody had told the manager of the comedy club, they do shit like this, had told him there was a birthday girl in the house. So he said, there's a birthday girl in the house. And she was like, woo. And he's like, I'm going to buy you a drink, sweetheart. How old are you today? And she said, I'm 19. And he goes, 19. All right. Rusty was the bartender's name. He was like, Rusty, hit this gal of Coke on me. Because she's not old enough to drink it. He turns back to her and he goes, well, honey, you got a boyfriend? She goes, no. He goes, Rusty, make that a Diet Coke. And that's just good, clean fun right there.
Dude, that is so goddamn funny.
Well, especially because I know him and I can hear him doing it, and I know how quick it was.
I don't know.
It was like that, buddy. Like,
I just know him through y'all, but that is just such a fucking tremendous host improv moment that I'm certain that had to kill, right? That had
oh, dude, that murders. Yeah. Jimmy would do pretty well. Like, I mean, I don't mean to imply he like ate a dick all the time. He had some really good sets. I mean, I thought he showed a shitload of promise. Yeah, but then he fell in love. And that didn't hit for her, so speaking of love and women should be in prison, Amber hasn't done.
What? Oh yeah, we said that as a joke. I was like, I forgot. I was like, what?
Amber Amber hasn't done a it's, y'all are recording, it's 12:49 there, but it's 3:49 here. She hasn't done a goddamn thing all day. And I told her, I was like, hey, by the way, and she's just laying on the bed reading a book. And I was like, just so you know, not that you were going to do anything anyways, I'm going to be recording a podcast here in a second. She's like, oh, okay. Since then, she has walked behind me and slammed every single door and had a conference call with 3 of her other friends who ain't doing shit. And just, again, so I don't have anything else to say about that. But if you keep seeing her, that's why. She knows we're doing this, and she knows that it's getting on my nerves for her to be doing that.
Yeah, I had seen her chilling about back there.
Yeah, and again, can't stress this enough. Had completely resigned herself to the bed for the rest of the day until I told her that I'd be in here doing a thing.
Man, this is a weird transition, maybe. But speaking of people who are not doing not shit, but are doing shit, I talked to DJ this morning, and look, man, as Trey said at the top, we got the kindest fans in fucking comedy. That's true. Like, the literal only complaint I could ever have about y'all is that y'all are too good. Like, you're just so fucking good people that sometimes you make me be a good person, and that don't hit for me. But I talked to DJ this morning. I don't think y'all need to hear this necessarily because y'all are good people. But, like, man, fucking treat people right. If you are out at a restaurant or a store or whatever right now, the people who do have to work during this shit, everyone's stressed. So everyone is bringing that stress into the store or whatever, and he's worn out, man. DJ's worn out, y'all. Like he the way he said it to me was, I'm tired of arguing with people. I don't know what to say. Like, what am I going to do? Call the cops on them? I'm not going to do that, But, like, I'm tired of – you only get 2 bags of toilet paper. Like, you can't have no more, buddy, and to put it in his words. Buddy, you can't have no more. The Dollar General done told me you was allowed to have this much, and I can't go above the General's head. So, if you're going out into the world and you're trying to support people or whatever, just make sure you're treating them really, really kindly.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, that kind of worries me, not just for DJ, but for humanity, which not that I don't stay worried about humanity, but, like, if DJ's reaching a breaking point, then a lot of other people done been there. You know what I'm saying? Because,
well, that's sort of his point is everybody's breaking.
Right, but DJ's, like, one of the most resilient human beings I've ever met who can take pretty much anything from either side of the spectrum that you throw at him. So if he's getting a little worn out about something, then god damn, buddy. But yeah, like what Drew said, quit being bags of shit. Well,
buddy, coming off of him being such a good person, I mean, he's got empathy for these folks. He's like, man, they're scared. I mean, he's like, if you're shopping at the Dollar General in Chickamauga regularly, like, you're probably not killing it financially necessarily in life anyway. So he's got a lot of
my sister goes there all the time.
There we go. They're scared too, and it's affecting each other. And dude, y'all know me. I'm not one of these people who's like, we just need to be kind and everything will be fine. That ain't going to solve so many of our fucking institutional problems, but we still do need to be kind.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I used to think, because I served the public literally as a server for 5 years, and I was in college. And I used to think that, this isn't feasible and would never happen, but in a lot of countries they have like every citizen, every able-bodied citizen is like required to do a year or 2 of like military service or whatever. I used to think that like we should do that in America, but for public service, not necessarily just working in a restaurant, but retail, anything working with and serving the public. People should be forced to do it for like 6 months to a year or something when they're younger, because I mean, it like really opens your eyes to how not to treat people and how shitty some people can be. And that was during like the best of times. You know what I'm saying? I was working there during the George Bush era. Things were hitting for these people in Cookeville, Tennessee. But I've thought before, like how hard it would definitely be to be working in public service right now during this pandemic when people acting the way I know people are acting. Yeah, it's got to be fucking horrible.
And another thing I'll say about it, kindness isn't just manners. You can't be out there politely with a smile on your face saying, okay, but I'm gonna have 4 bags of toilet paper. I know like no, like you're just gonna, that's not being kind either. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just being polite. It's
Right.
just fucking being kind.
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. But, you know, on what Trey said, I worked in retail forever and I worked in a restaurant, and it definitely not that. Now, I was raised by two good parents who were always respectful to servers and blah, blah, blah. So I feel like I would have done it anyways. But I feel like because of all that, I'm even more on the side of the wait staff or wherever, whenever I'm somewhere. And I also notice more shitty behavior now. Like I'm just like a spider sense goes off when I see or hear someone just being a fucking dick for no reason. I'm like, there's literally no reason. Like if you were in a good enough mood to go to a restaurant and sit down, then be fake it. God damn it. Like if you were this sour of a piece of shit, stay the fuck at home. You know, like I don't understand it, but I don't know. Those people are working hard, and right now they're working insanely extra hard and having to do more takeout stuff, and yeah, it's just not a good time. So like Drew said, yeah, man, like being nice isn't going to solve.
And tip them at stores. I tip them at. I mean, I've been tipping my cashiers at the grocery store, and the people bagging me, and at one point they were like, "We can't take that. It's against the rules."
Right.
And I mean, y'all know me. Like I'm kind, but I'm an asshole. I just turned. The manager was right there in their little box. I go, "Hey, I'm gonna give them $20, okay?" And it was like. They were like, oh, okay. It's fuck that.
I'm sure that manager was very happy to take that $20 after you left.
I hope so. If I find out about it, I'll beat him with a spoon.
You should treat people well. You know who you should treat the most well? Your sexual partner. That's right. Yes.
Unless they consensually want you to be mean to them.
Unless that happens. But whatever they want, whatever you're into, Adam and Eve has got you covered. Adam and Eve says the best part of staying at home is playing at home. And who can argue with that, right? We've got a lot of downtime. Take advantage of that downtime. Go to Adam and Eve and you can get almost any one item, maybe not the triple ass blaster 3000, but almost any one item for 50% off. And when you do, you'll get 10 free boredom-busting gifts, including 6 spicy movies, a 3-piece bonus kit. That kind of sounds like chicken. But
chicken, yeah. I was about to say, I saw spicy and 3-piece right here in a row.
Yeah. And best of all, free shipping.
And these are bone-in, by the way.
We made these same jokes last time we did this, and they're still funny.
Oh, okay.
All right. Well, so everybody, here's what you got to do. You got to use the promo code WELLREAD. That's WELLREAD. Us, you know us. Well, R-E-D.
And I want y'all to know I did this.
Checkout.
I got my 6 spicy movies. We got our 3-piece bonus kits. I was not. They weren't bullshit bonuses. Like they were pretty good. We got a. I think they call. I don't know what they call it. A clit inducer, some kind of fucking little juice you put down there and it makes it better. I got a cock ring.
To induce the clit.
Yeah, it induces it. I might be drunk. We got a cock ring that had. For me, as you guys might imagine. So these are legit gifts. They're not just throwing at you, the random stuff. They have thousands of products. They'll make you glad you're staying at home. Sex toys, they make staying at home fun. Like I've already admitted, we've been shopping at them. Shopping from home is more enjoyable when you're shopping for sex toys, and using sex toys at home is better than using them in public. I know that from experience. We won't get into it. So go to adamandeve.com and use their offer code WELLREAD. That's WELLRED. Use that offer code. Get sex toys, spice up your life.
Literally, get yourself a new dick.
Get you a new dick.
This blaster, this triple ass blaster tray.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not 50% off. That's because it's good.
It's too good, yeah.
Wow.
That's why.
Okay, yeah. I'm into it.
Yeah.
All right, obviously, we're doing a bit, but in all seriousness, me and Andy got that dick mold. Did I tell you all that on the podcast or in private?
I thought you got that taken care of, but go ahead.
It's extra good.
He was in the woods too long.
Got that moldy dick. Got that dick mold.
I can't follow that.
Well, I had a couple other things I was going to bring up since we're talking about things that don't hit. Not Adam and Eve, they do hit. Before that, we're talking about how people don't hit. I used to do this bit. I was doing a version of the bit, but it used to be set up by me saying like, I get annoyed by people acting like we are all getting dumber as a society because that's just really not true, because I know we're dumb now, but think about how fucking dumb people used to be. That was my main point. And honestly, I stand by that, but I used to bring up
I wouldn't
Idiocracy.
say I wouldn't say it's my favorite bit of yours, but I think it was the one I was always the most jealous of.
I agree.
Fucking bit.
It's the bit of yours that I almost accidentally write once a week.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like I'll start in the middle of something and I go, oh wait, this ends with Trey's bit. Fuck.
So anyway, every now and then, in the beginning of it would change depending on the night or whatever, but sometimes I would specifically mention Idiocracy and be like, yeah, people love to say Idiocracy. It's a documentary. And it's like, no, it fucking isn't. And I used to say that. So then the other night, I say all that just to say, the other night, I don't remember what brought it up. I saw a clip on the internet or something from Idiocracy or some such. And I realized that, like, tell me if I'm wrong here. I swear to God, I think I would vote for Dwayne Hector Elizondo Mountain Dew Camacho over Donald Trump.
Absolutely.
like literally.
No,
if
I
he was
would.
real. Former porn star, fucking AK-47, all that shit. If it was him or Donald Trump in real life, not a joke, I think I'd vote for that guy.
I know I would.
Sincerely, that's how ridiculous things have gotten. It's like literally dumber than Idiocracy. Right?
I think my answer is yes, and no, it is. And not to get too serious, but like this shit with him deploying the Department of Homeland Security,
dude,
it's here, fellas. Now let's save that for the last segment because I don't think we're going to get a lot out of that other than fear, and we're descending into a nightmare situation. So for that reason,
close with it.
Let's close with that.
Leave them wanting less.
Exactly. You guys are finally starting to understand me. It's taken me. I had to rant on y'all last week, and now you're finally starting to get me.
Oh.
For that reason, I would. For the judge's reason, I would. And then just the nihilistic part of me. If that was who the Dems offered, I'd be like,
at least he's rad.
He's
rad.
He's rad. But also, like, if you think back to that movie, he like wanted to do the right thing and save the country. Yeah. He wanted to surround himself with the best and brightest. That's why he hired Not Sure in the first place, is because he was the most brilliant guy around. And Camacho was like, I need this guy on my staff because we got to do something. Like
Camacho, he was a Cho.
Absolutely, was a huge show.
And Chos don't have any natural enemies. I mean, they don't. They're just like, oh, he hits, bring him in.
But there wasn't no malice or anything in him. He wanted to do a good job, you know. So I think he's genuinely a better candidate.
Seatbelts, restrictor plates.
Hey, on that note, kind of
Trey, this is quick. I tweeted, well, to both of you, but just because you brought up the point, you know, you have like, well, you don't know Trey because you're famous now, but and Butter, you kind of are too. But Buttercream Dream, if you can remember before you became the Buttercream Dream, you have a tweet where you're like, yeah, I know this is, but I know you're not supposed to think this, but this tweet's going to get 1 million likes.
Yeah.
I tweeted something like, y'all, I just watched the DVD extras of Idiocracy, and they predicted that people would be tweeting our country has become idiocracy.
Yeah.
They really did predict the future. And it got like 20 likes.
Yeah. I've found, oddly enough, it can very much go the opposite. Like when I post something that is going to be amazing, it's nothing. And then I'll post something that was just a throwaway, whatever. And it's just, and I don't.
Now you did kind of know Buttercream Dream was going to take off, I think.
Oh, I wouldn't have done that if I didn't think this could be something and be a thing. But the one, honestly, I can't remember what it was about. I just remember that the one that got the most views was the one that
dumbest.
It wasn't the dumb. It's just one I didn't like the most. Like I didn't. Yeah. I was like, well, this will do good, but like, and then the one I did the next week, which I was like, this is fucking it. You know, it did well, but it just didn't do what the other one did. And I mean, that could just be, you know, one specific person with a lot of followers retweeted or what the fuck ever. But like, yeah, you never, goddamn, if you knew, I mean, that'd be something.
Yeah. It didn't like go mega viral, but that stupid car thing I did, I literally sat on it for a month because I was like, this is stupid. Yeah. And it's the best I've ever done.
Yeah, no, I mean, I knew the Buttercream Dream was going to be a good idea. I'd thought about doing something with wrestling for a while. My first thought was I was going to do a series called Wrestling with My Emotions, where I just cut like every week. My opponent was my depression, and I would, but then I started to do that, and then I was like, I'm gonna run out of shit to say about depression's gonna win. Is basically what like I know, this ain't gonna be good. And then
depression's manager called.
Yeah, and then my buddy sent me that belt, and I was fired up about something, and I was just going to go outside and literally just pull a tray and just scream into my phone about a thing I was upset about because I didn't write nothing or whatever. And I just, on my way out the door, I was like, I'm going to grab the belt, and I put it over my shoulder, and like, people clicked on it just because in the thumbnail there was a fucking idiot on the belt. So, yeah,
which brings us back to Idiocracy. Not that everyone who likes that's an idiot, but it's like you do have to do visual shit. That's just competition, though. That's not because everybody's dumb. That's just like you're competing with
stand out. Yeah. Some way or another.
Well, I mean, right. Like I'm another white guy in a hat with a beard. So
let me ask you this:
put a belt on.
Obviously, we're not getting dumber. That's why your bit was accurate and all that. But do you think the fact that dumb people can talk to each other, not just as neighbors, is making this time worse in some ways?
Part of the bit for
they now have a voice
was that we're not getting dumber. It just seems that way because this is the first time in human history that dumb people have had a voice, meaning
right. No, I remember that part.
Nobody used to know what dumb people thought about anything.
But let me clarify.
They couldn't fucking write.
Let me clarify. That was my favorite part of the bit, but that was very banal. Yeah. That was like, they're not getting dumber. We just know who they are now, but they know who each other are. I'm asking you, do you think it is worse, not just perception-wise?
Yeah.
Because they can say to each other, check out QAnon.
Right.
This is the truth. Or
I definitely think that makes it – that definitely makes a difference because, yes, they can now talk to each other and tell each other we are really who's smart. They're not. They say we're really.
It's also a numbers
smart and not them. And
very related. I completely agree with you. You're right. Does that make us elitists?
Yeah, fuck yeah, we are. I mean, like. What are you talking about? Yes, I'm better than
they don't hit. I don't like. I
can't fix it either. It ain't my fault.
I am stupid. I'm that.
Fuck yeah.
Put that on my gravestone. It ain't my fault. They're fucking stupid.
I think it's a numbers game too, because it's like not only did back in the day did dumb people not have a voice, and now they all have a voice. Back in the day, there were no such thing as dumb old people because they would have died before they got to be old. You know what I mean? But like because of medicine and technology and shit, there's a lot of dumb old people, and there's just more fucking people, period. And then
there's just more of everybody.
There's more of everybody, and those two dumb people meet and fall in dumb love and fuck and have a dumb fucking kid. And then again, they get old. Back in the day, if you were
ain't that America?
Back in the day, if you were fucking just dumb, you would just walk through and snort polio, and then you were fucking out. Which people they're doing that now. By the way, they're bringing that back. But like,
I was about to say though, I've been very disappointed in COVID. I thought it was going to kill only the olds and the dumbs, and like, look, I'm not happy about that. I feel very sorry for those folks. But I was like, well, at least we'll do better. But that ain't how it turned out. They lied to me.
Yeah, disease.
No, dumb people. Cho was partially right, and also was funny what he said. But like everybody also knows that dumb people have an incredible resilience, dude.
Yeah, they do.
Like dumb people are hard to kill.
It's the lack of stress. It's the lack of stress.
They just bounce around, just bounce between getting kicked by a horse and running into a wall and all this shit. Well, they just keep on not hitting. Like I don't know what it is.
That's true.
They don't ever have existential crises. I had not even a bit, just like that line of like, that's the sweet spot where you're like just barely too dumb to ever have an existential crisis.
Well, that was in
just never.
Yeah,
think
I had that in mind.
Yeah, too. It was nobody's ever woke up going like, oh, am I hating the Jews enough?
Yeah, staring at their ceiling. Am I hating the Jews enough? Like that.
Yeah,
but
every day they leave it all on the field and they go to bed fucking completely rested.
They absolutely do. Leave it all on the field.
They have light hearts.
Yeah.
Well, that's the secret, man, to both happiness and being borderline unkillable. And that's why I'm a little jealous of sociopaths, because they also have light hearts.
But I think even like what we're talking about, just to, like, again, I know how it seems right now. I had to change the way I would even get into the bit because I could feel people at the beginning of it the way I used to get into it. I could feel them being like, I don't know, buddy.
Yeah.
I kind of think we are getting dumber. But I stand by the general premise of it, even today, with how stupid everything is. Because, like, if you like,
it's just
we're talking about how many
true.
dumb people are out there.
I'm just doing your bit now, but people used to use leeches
right
for medicine.
Right. But also, like, if you think, like, what society was, like, people with money, and they were the only people that ever got educated in any way back in the day, were, like, nobility, royalty, and the super wealthy were the only ones that ever even learned how to fucking read. And that was back then. That was, you know, what, the top 1 to 5% or something, 10% maybe of all of humanity. And then everybody else was just playing in the mud, fucking buttholes and fucking talking shit to dogs. And
having a good time.
Having a real good time.
As long as you didn't get put in stocks, you know.
Yeah, that would not have hit.
You would have ended up in the stocks at least.
Well, it'd have choked. They wouldn't have had one big enough. It'd have choked my fat neck out the first time. You know how many kids just be throwing fucking poop at my head just all fucking day and never miss.
Your hand with a mater. That's Friday night. That's TGIF back in the day. Go down there and go throw maters at the ball boy.
I'd have got killed by a fucking cobbler because of something I said that he didn't like. He'd have just hit me with a fucking rock.
Yeah.
And everybody would have cheered.
Yep. And that'd been it. They would have, like, pushed you with their foot into some dirty creek and you floated away dead forever.
Yeah. What a wild time.
But probably they would do that to me when I was defending the guy who murdered you when you were like fat and 12 talking about, well, actually, and then somebody just been like, get this fucking kid out of here.
Well, I probably wouldn't have been fat. That's one of the things that
I was talking about Trey.
Oh, right. That's one of the things that that's just objective. We are fatter as a country now than we've ever been, but not dumber.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, but like, man, that's so crazy, like thinking about you just being murdered by a cobbler and then him just kicking you into the river and that being that. Like, that really would have been that. Like, that'd have been it. Back then, if you, like, there's people that have bits, but, like, if you did a thing and no one saw you do that thing, there is a 99.9% chance that you were just going to whistle Dixie all the way fucking home and be fine.
Yeah, I've always wondered, Jesus Christ, I'm about to reveal a lot, and I probably shouldn't even give anyone out there listening any crazy ideas, but these people who get caught killing their kids, you're not kill your kids, obviously.
Yeah, we've said that a bunch.
Just move. And don't. Like, I don't. That's the equivalent of what they did back then. Who the fuck knows? Nobody knows where your kid is.
Right.
Just leave your town and go to a new town and be like, yeah, I'm new here and I don't have kids. Who's going to question that?
I mean, I agree. Abandon them.
So the idea of anytime some new child murderer is caught or whatever, when the headline pops up that Drew is sitting there thinking, what a fucking idiot. How do you get caught?
Relocate.
Well, it's not like they had a job they didn't show up for, Trey. It's not like the local Lions club is like, little Timmy didn't come in. Just, we moved.
Well, I got to tell you, man, I've read a couple headlines and then clicked on them and read the story about some mothers, drowning their kids or whatever. Doesn't ever really seem like they thought it through too much.
No,
you know what I mean? Kind of seemed like a
spontaneous.
Yeah, very much so. Most of the time.
Yeah.
I'm glad we got the dick advertisement.
Hey, Drew, now do the thing that people are going to get depressed about. Here we go.
America is slowly descending into borderline anarchy, coupled with fascism, which seems like it wouldn't go together at the same time, but that is definitely what's happening. And both sides are blaming each other. If you look online, a lot of these centrists who are always right down the middle in every issue because they're fair, they're very much like, well, these crazy kids in Portland are anarchists, and then the government is crazy and they're fascists. and that's not fucking fair to me. I feel like one group is like, we're fighting for our rights and we just want to live here, and I don't understand why people don't agree with that. And the other one is a man who has literally gone through every fucking branch of his own government and the judicial department that he can to fucking break these protesters. That's why he's now settled upon the Department of Homeland Security. If you don't know, the Department of Homeland Security is now occupying Portland, and they have plans to do it in more major cities. And if you don't know or care, if you're like, that sounds like a bunch of words, Department of Homeland, blah, 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 that's literally the occupation of these U.S. cities by a federal army. It is the closest to martial law that I could think of without declaring martial law. The reason he hasn't declared martial law is he knows he can't get away with it right now. And we have to stop underestimating Trump. If you cannot buy or fathom that he's a smart person, then at least buy or fathom that he has smart people around him who very much want crazy things. And they've gotten a lot of them. Not in the future, now. They've already closed down our borders. They're already putting little kids in cages at the border, which sounds like something out of a fucking concentration camp movie, but no, it's happening right here. And now they've sent what is essentially a standing army to Portland, and they're planning on doing it in other cities. And if you hear that, and I don't think any of our listeners do, but maybe some of them do, and you blame it on what? I don't know what you're blaming it on. There might even be, let's say there's a fucking reality where there are people in Portland with like pipe bombs blowing up government buildings because there's some kind of left-wing crazy people. There's things in place to defend against that. You don't need the army to defend against that. That's not what's happening at all. What's happening is it feels like a dress rehearsal for a plan to take any city that has a liberal mayor and make an example of them, occupy them. And I'm freaked out, and I'm kind of tired of pretending like I'm not freaked out, because you know what I mean, like that whole I don't want to sound like a tinfoil hat person, or I don't want to just be this extreme leftist anything, because then I can't talk to people like where I'm from, because they have no sense of this because they live in rural America. And it feels like TV to them because it is right. TV. But I'm tired of pretending like I'm not freaked out. Well, that's my A. And then I guess my B is, even if these centrists I see on the internet who are trying to make sense of this by going, well, these crazy anarchists are doing this, and that's why the response is this, that's also crazy. Society's falling apart. Society is falling the fuck apart, and we're months away from feeling it in our pocketbooks and in our schools. We're going to send kids back to school. It's all happening at the same time. What? Kids do die. People are like, well, only 1% of kids die. That's 1 out of 100. At a normal fucking school, that's like 6 kids. And if you're confused about how I'm conflating two issues because I've been drinking during this podcast, I apologize. That's my fault. But what I'm saying is 2 things are happening at once. There's a concerted effort to occupy liberal cities, and we're just pretending like COVID isn't that big of a deal so that we can, quote unquote, go back to the status quo. And both of those things are terrifying to me.
They're also both related because, like, and I'm part of this is maybe just what I'm telling myself, but I feel like it's like, this is not just the general decay of American society, okay? This is what happens in year 4 of a fucking administration or a regime like we have been under. Like, this is what happens when you are completely rotten at the head. It's not a coincidence or anything like that. Like, this is a direct result of that. And what I keep telling myself to sleep at night is that we are finally getting towards what will hopefully be the end of that. And there's still so many gates to overcome, so many obstacles to overcome between now and then. What if they're already fucking with the mail because they're going to try to steal the goddamn election? What if they like refuse to leave somehow or another? There's a whole transition period for months where they'll be like lame ducks, and what the fuck are they going to do then? And that all is very frightening. But what else do you have to hang your hats on other than it's like 3.5 months until Election Day? We've survived this far, and yeah, it gets worse every single day. It gets worse. But like, just maybe we could just make it to the finish line, and then because I really think if we do get them out of there without like this whole country without something crazy happening. If there is a blue wave in the election and we get them out of there without violence or whatever, I think that most all of this will then begin to get better and heal after that.
Yeah,
I really think so.
I agree.
I got
Well, I was just real quick. I was going to say, number one, I agree. And I used to be like, well, goddamn, in Donald Trump's, if he gets to the point where he's, the lame duck president or whatever, like, well, at least then he won't be actively trying to, do shit. But then I think, like, well, goddamn, I mean, he fucking spends 8 hours on the golf course every day and all this shit still happens. So, like, it doesn't even need to be him there. It just needs to be his party in control. And then another thing I'd like to say, and this is just forward thinking on my part, Donald Trump and his regime is, kind of a direct result of them attempting to swing the pendulum back so goddamn hard after 8 years of what they had to deal with, which was a black president. And I'm just worried that, like, what I'm saying is if we get in and if everything shifts back, we cannot just be like, okay, good, Democrats are fucking in power. Otherwise, in 4 to 8 years afterwards, I know that you think it can't get worse than Donald Trump, but a lot of people thought that about George Bush, and then here we are with Trump. So, like, that's scary to me too, is what we do with it once we get it. Because we've really, as you've said a lot, we're just not winners anymore. We suck. We're not really great. I don't know, man. We don't do a lot except bitch sometimes, which we should bitch. I'm just saying I still worry about our party and, like, what the fuck we're going to do if we do get back in power. That's all I'll say.
Man, yeah. I was going to say I have an optimistic and a pessimistic response, but you just obliterated my pessimism by being super pessimistic, because you basically just said, yeah, we might win, but Trey, have you considered the fact that we don't hit anymore? Haven't hit in a long time. Every time we get someone who do hits, we undercut them like a motherfucker.
Am I wrong?
We'd rather hang on to power than we would actually have new ideas in there.
I think the only real hope, I think it's more about our main problem is that we are ineffectual, right? And so when it still is.
That's not our main problem, but go ahead.
Well, one of our main problems is that we are ineffectual. And when the opposition is so fucking insane and hardcore and we are huge pussies, then, you end up with them just sort of getting what they want. I think the real hope is that, and I don't trust them to take any reasonable lessons away from anything. But I think the only real hope is that if there is a blue wave, if they get the shit kicked out of them in November, the right, that might be the one and only thing that could make them realize, like, we gonna have to recalibrate a little bit or we are done. And then if they do that, surely it would have to be back in this direction. It wouldn't be further.
Right.
And then
it would have to be.
And they become more reasonable, then it might have a larger effect on, politics as a whole in this country.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, luckily, like, if we somehow got the presidency back for 8 years, in those 8 years, a huge percentage of those people will be dead.
Yeah, right. That too.
I mean, that 8 years is a lot.
Every day.
Yeah.
The kids,
especially without the will to live. Like the will to live will be sucked smooth out of them. So, like, that'd be good. Go ahead, Drew.
I'll give you my pessimistic reaction and then my optimistic. My pessimistic reaction is it's already here. I mean, that's what I open with. Like, and you touched on this, Trey, but, like, yeah, I hope we win in November, but, like, what does that look like? Like, how much do we have to win by that he and that regime can't massage the numbers, trick people? I mean, look, there's a theory that I heard, and this might be a little tenfold high. This is as wild as I'll get because I hate hyperbole. We need actual facts right now. This is as wild as I'll get right now. There's an idea of, like, the whole no more moratorium on evictions, and as you mentioned, fucking with the mail. If everyone's homeless and or the mail ain't running, you can't do a vote by mail. Especially if everyone homeless or most people who are homeless are, ain't going to vote for you or you think they're not. I don't trust, pessimistically, coupled with what's going on in Portland and supposedly about to happen in other cities, that we're going to have a fair election.
Right.
So even if we are going to win, I'm pessimistic about the prospects of that even fucking mattering anymore.
Right.
Trump is a moron, but he's clearly got some smart people around him. William Barr, who is the head of the Department of Justice, made his career arguing that Article 2 of the Constitution, as it relates to the executive branch, has been misinterpreted literally the whole time America's been a country, and that the executive branch should have more power. He's argued it every time he's been in a place to argue it. Like, we knew who he was. His whole thing, his whole career has been twofold. One, the executive branch should have more power. Congress should not be allowed to impeach him or do any of this bullshit. He was very quiet when they did it to Clinton. I wonder why. But for the most part, he's been consistent with that. And two, he's like super Catholic and thinks we need to get back to God's law. It's not a coincidence that he came out of retirement to go help Donald Trump. And it's not because he likes Trump. It's because he recognized that here is someone who might grab power.
Yeah.
And that's happening right now. And it's real. And that's what I'm saying about my, bringing the pessimism into it. I don't know if we can win an election. It's already fucking unfair, in my opinion. My second part of my pessimism is like, look who we're running. Even if we win, I don't know how much, but it'll definitely be better than Donald Trump. And I want to say that to anyone listening right now. I think you should vote for Joe Biden. Like, I get hating him. I really do. But look at our country's cities are being occupied.
Yeah. And I mean, it's like you said, it's hard to believe in the process when, goddamn, dude, the Democrats couldn't even get a Clinton elected president against Donald Trump. And it's funny too, because like, if you ask anybody about the Clintons, they literally are just the puppet masters for the entire world and control everything. And yet somehow they lost. So like, you can't believe one and not believe the other. But then if you go further the other way down, I'm like, I do think that group of people wields a considerable amount of power, and they still could not get the election. So something fucky this way comes.
Well, and my last pessimistic note is Donald Trump has already overcome so many things that are in place to keep people from being despotic, fascistic rulers.
Right.
Case in point, the Department of Justice I just brought up. Case in point, every person in the FBI he's fired. Andrew McCabe is a lifelong Republican. Robert Mueller, who he dragged through the mud when he tried to investigate him, is a lifelong Republican. I don't know if Comey's a lifelong Republican, but I know at the very least he's a moderate. My point being is like, he made Andrew McCabe this fucking horrible enemy. He's brilliant at playing personal politics. He has the internet and the QAnon people believing that Andrew McCabe is a liberal shill who wants to investigate Donald Trump and pardon Hillary Clinton for no reason. That's a lifelong Republican. You couldn't get more like, we as liberals, if we sat down and talked to the dude, we wouldn't like how he feels than Andrew McCabe. His parents are attorneys. He grew up rich. He went to fucking Yale.
Right.
He's made him the enemy because he investigated him. He's already winning that game. So that's my last pessimistic thing. Here's my optimistic thing. I do think we can win. I think the reason he's using the Department of Homeland Security is because he knows the National Guard won't do what he wants. I still have some faith in the quote-unquote idea of America. I still hope, believe, whatever in my heart, that there's enough people who aren't QAnon fucking blitzed in their brains, even if they are Republicans, that they won't. Like if they get an order, go do this, they just won't do it.
Right.
If he says, I know I didn't actually lose this election, it was rigged against me, help me keep in power, that the Army won't stand for that. Now, for the record on that note, I have no faith that the Republican Congress will do that, but I do have faith in some of these institutions. But I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know why. I've never put my faith. This makes me feel desperate. I've never put a lot of faith in these institutions.
Well, right now we're experiencing, if trickle down ever worked in anything, it works for the GOP's favor in the sense of like the two greatest things that party ever did for themselves was positioning themselves alongside the Southern Baptist Convention, which the Southern Baptist Convention wanted to do for their own gain as well. But when the GOP became officially God's party, and then another thing, which was it kind of started really during the George Bush administration, when they kind of had this campaign for anti-intellectualism and how knowing stuff ain't good. Because like before that, the Republican candidate was Bob Dole. I mean, you can say what you want about Bob Dole in terms of I didn't like his he wasn't a fucking idiot. He was never once has there ever been look at that what dipshit Bob Dole said. But as soon as Bush gets in, they start down this anti-intellectualism train that basically, number one, they're the party of God. So if you go against us, you must not be a Christian, and all Democrats are atheists. And then number two, anybody who ever says anything bad about us is just think they're smarter than you, and they're just an elitist, and they don't know. And those two things right there, man, are almost impossible to combat, because religion is impossible to combat because it's unprovable and completely faith driven. So facts don't matter in that respect to somebody. And then anti-intellectualism is impossible to combat because there's no way that you can argue for it or against it without seeming like you're being the intellectual that they've been groomed to hate to begin with. So like, I don't know what to fucking do in that regard.
Well, that's why I don't think he's dumb at all. And you've taken me yet again back to pessimism. That's why I don't think he's dumb at all. He took fake news, which he didn't invent, and he turned it into his own weapon. He took fake news, which is the idea of mistrusting some people in the media, and honestly was lobbied at Fox a lot.
Sure.
And he turned it into a weapon where it's like, that's my term. He did the same thing with deep state, for the record. Deep state originated as a term that had to do with like how if you work for the government for 10 years, then you can go get a job as a lobbyist or working for this private contractor or working for this this law office as a partner. Like, they make you partner because of your connections.
Right.
And there were these writers kind of recognizing that's bullshit. Like, and that's where the sort of the deep state term came from. It's like, man, we're starting to be ruled by these people who swing back and forth between Washington, D.C. and the private sector, and they're just giving their friends these contracts. And that's a good critique. And Donald Trump took that and he ran on it. He ran on draining the swamp, remember?
Yeah.
Yep.
And now he's made it to where anyone who, Comey, McCabe, anyone in Washington who says that I'm corrupt, they're part of the deep state.
Yeah.
And again, that's where I go back to he's not dumb, or somebody around him ain't.
Well, I mean, the guy who's been in the news in the past couple of weeks because Trump just commuted his sentence was Roger Stone. I mean, he was the architect of that initial thing. And I mean, yeah, that's the thing is like, I would never in my wildest dreams accuse Roger Stone of being stupid. He's like, that's the unfortunate thing about genius is genius itself doesn't have like a left or right bias. Yeah. Like genius is what genius is. And who you are as a person is how you're going to use that. Hitler wasn't a fucking dumb guy either. And I'm not making the whole like, oh, Trump's, I'm just saying like genius is a term that like it itself doesn't mean specifically one. It just means you're fucking real smart, but he's an evil fucking, he's a goddamn Batman villain, man. Like it's crazy.
Trump sure ain't Hitler, but we do have cops where we don't know their badges and they're taking people away in unmarked rental vans.
Yeah.
Feels a little secret police
SS shit.
No, you're right.
Don't hit.
No, don't hit.
Hitler don't hit.
No, Hitler don't hit. I've gone on record as much. It is the working title for the second in my Don't Hit trilogy.
Yeah. Beginning with
genocide, 9/11 don't hit, Hitler don't hit, and then genocide don't hit. That's the third in the don't hit trilogy.
Yeah. Right. No,
that's going to be the Nothing Hits trilogy.
And I'll be honest with you, we could probably cover a lot of that genocide in the Hitler movie, so we could probably do another one.
We could. I mean, there might be people who I've heard of Holocaust deniers, but I've never heard of Holocaust don't hit deniers.
Right. If you believe in the Holocaust, then you believe it did not hit. That's really you say that because like most Holocaust deniers are the people who would have really loved the Holocaust.
Well, that's the thing. They're not allowed to be Holocaust don't hit deniers.
Right.
So then they just start.
That didn't happen.
The whole thing. Yeah.
There's no way that happened. That would have hit too hard. I'd have heard about that.
You did hear about it, Bill. That's why we're conversing. This don't count.
All right. Well, about that time, is it?
Yeah. August 7th.
August 7th.
Trey, give us your brilliant wisdom here. Make everybody feel better.
On what?
Worse. What do we do, Dad?
I already told you. All I know to do is just survive for 3.5 more months. I'm worried about the election too, but I'm still optimistic. Each individual state is heavily involved in how elections go down, you know, and so many of our states are still sane and powerful and stuff. And I think that as far as like, if we win, what's he going to do after that? I really do worry about that. And the only saving grace is, like, and Corey alluded to it, it's like, I hope that if he loses, he'll have like a tantrum, but then sort of just be like,
all right,
just fuck off. Because like, I don't think he likes doing the job or anything.
Clearly doesn't.
You know what I mean? Like I don't think he enjoys. So I think like and I'm not saying I believe this. I'm saying I hope that he would like flip out in the immediate term, but then after that be like, oh, I don't have to do any of this anymore. I can just go get started on my TV network or whatever I'm going to do after this to bilk all these people for, you know, billions of dollars. I'm just going to do that. Who gives a fuck?
I definitely
agree with you.
Fuck this stupid house and this stupid job.
That comes down to who's in his ear. You know, if someone points that out to him, and then if someone points out to him, you know, the other one thing that worries me about that notion though is, you're right. Like, I don't think he wanted to do it, but now that he's got it, I don't think he wants to let it go.
I agree with that. He's not gonna like just go quick. He sure as hell ain't gonna have like a concession speech the night of where he thanks the campaign. He ain't gonna do none of that.
He definitely, I don't think, wants to be president. But one thing that I think, and I think everybody that has watched this man for, you know, 3 decades of him being a fuck shit knows that he does like the sound of his own voice. But I think that he has really found out in the past couple of years, like speaking in front of large groups of people and getting these immediate reactions. I think he's really fallen in love with that. So like, A, he's not going to go quietly into the night. But B, what I'm saying is like, after he gets out, that motherfucker is going to start touring. Like, he's going to absolutely start touring.
Absolutely.
And oh God.
And I'm fine with that.
I mean, yeah, me too. But like, that's 100%.
Well,
like, this
unless
man
he's like stirring up violence.
Like, you know, most presidents, like, I mean, yeah, Bush does his charity stuff, and him and Clinton and all them hang out as the super friends from time to time and eat fucking caramels. But like, you know, for a long time after they're president, you don't really hear from them for a while because they've just done one of the most stressful things in the world. So they kind of lay low. They go windsurfing. Trump ain't going. We are going to be stuck with this motherfucker in our face every day until the day he fucking dies, or we do. Either way,
which hopefully won't be too long. You know, he is old, fat and old and dumb and don't hit. But again, you know, they stick around, that type. They find a way to fucking just living off just cheeseburgers for fucking 70 years. And
it won't happen to me.
He'll live. No, hell no, because you hit.
I do hit.
It's the only ones that don't hit that fucking stick around forever.
Where it gets fucked up, and I care, and both of these are going to kill us.
No, just hopeful notes like, don't put all your faith in. Everything looks really bad for him right now. It's part of why he's freaking out so much. Like, in terms of the outlook is not good. Like, unless they do some fraudulent bullshit to steal it, which again, even if they do, I don't know what I mean, it'll be a goddamn civil war possibly if that happens. Like, because people are not, I'm not going to just, people will revolt in some capacity if it seems as though they literally stole the election. And if they don't steal it, it is not looking good for them right now, y'all. It's not like, and I'm gun shy over the last one too. We got punched in the fucking mouth in 2016, and ever since then, I've been superstitious about jinxing it or anything like that. I very much get that, but like, just speaking in terms of the information we have and what the outlook is, like, it does not look good for.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was
right now.
I was going to say that too, because before
that's what I'm hanging my hat on.
Before this past, election happened, like, it's hard to point at another time in history where a president would have had this bad of a 4 years and he's not fucking straight out the door. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And honestly, going back to me trying to be an optimist, boys, maybe this bullshit move he's doing will make some of our very leftist friends actually vote for Joe Biden, where they're like, you know, where there was a time period where they're like, I'm not voting for a barely different fucking piece of shit old white man, which is fair, versus, okay, I'm just going to vote against a literal fascist.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Fucking vote against, whatever. I don't know what to tell you, but yeah.
Before, I know you're about to plug the show. Before you do that, let me just thank people. I know I'm drinking and I'm talking too much. And Corey,
it's a podcast.
I've been somewhat overwhelmed. Literally trying to respond to your emails. Thank you guys so much for buying the special and giving me money and all that. And I hope you like it. And thank you.
Oh yeah, on my end too. Thank you so much for buying my special. Right as soon as I put it on sale, my air conditioner exploded. So that really came in handy. The Ravens knew. They're like, this boy's about to get some money in his Venmo. So yeah, appreciate that. But as Drew was also alluding to, August 7th, you can see us at the Well Read Quarantine Show. Tickets are at wellread.comedy.com, WELLRED comedy.com. It will be a live streamed Zoom show that we have never done together, the three of us, and it's going to be a lot of fun, and we're super fucking excited about doing something together for people again, because it's been too goddamn long.
And then for me, It's going to be probably 90% completely new material, and the other 10 will be repurposed material. Everything's different now. That's a big part of why I put the special out. And I got new ideas, and I've been alone with my wife for a while, and I'm gonna tell you guys about
Yeah,
I didn't think I could possibly write more I'm fat material, but I did it.
But then the pandemic happened.
Yeah, I did it.
Then he sat at home for 3 or 4 months, and lo and behold,
nevertheless, he persisted.
Yeah. Anyway, it's all new material. I mean, with whatever, like you said, 5-10% exceptions, repurposed lines here and there, but for the most part, it's gonna be all new material from all of us. Whether you've seen us on the road or anything before, you won't know about this. So come check it out. August 7th, 9 p.m. Eastern, right here on your computer.
Thank you all for listening to the Well Read Show. We'd love to stick around longer, but we got to go. Tune in next week if you got nothing to do. Thank you, God bless you, good night and skill. Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your boy, The Cho. Let's do some post-show plugs. Why not? Who gives a damn? It's everything's different now. This is the new normal. Fuck it. Strap in. Post-show plugs. As you may know, there are 2 spinoffs to the Well Read podcast. Now, one, Mr. Dollar Store Drew Morgan and our good buddy DJ Lewis have been doing for a while. It's called Into the Biscuit. It is a comedy podcast with a dose of the void. Join Drew Morgan and Dr. DJ Lewis as they journey through all things dark, sadness, heartbreak, loneliness, death, the empty feeling you get when you choose the wrong sandwich. This podcast covers it all, and I love it, and I've been a guest several times, and it is a whole lot of fun. You obviously know and love Drew from this podcast, and if you've listened to this podcast long enough, you know DJ Lewis. He is our most requested guest. Honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if people were just like, why don't y'all just shut the fuck up and let DJ do everything? Because he's that great. So go check out their podcast, subscribe to their Patreon for some bonus content, and give them a like and a review and a 5-star and all that good stuff. And I just had a brand new podcast that was released yesterday called Through the Screen Door with Corey Ryan Forster. And on it will feature daily bits. It will feature recurring segments, open monologue. It's loose. It's fun. It's half written. It's half improv on the moment. And we just had a blast doing it. Me and my producer, Matt Kuhn, on yesterday's debut episode. We talked about, in one of our segments, This Week in Southern History, I wrote a little story about the Scopes monkey trial, which happened, the final day was July 21st, 1925. We also review terrible movies. Yesterday, we reviewed Green Lantern, and I defended Ryan Reynolds for a little bit. In fact, I defended Ryan Reynolds for so long, my producer had to edit out 28 minutes of it so that it would still be a fine podcast, because I don't know. I just unhinged my jaw like a python and start just shooting out. It's Ryan Reynolds, man. He looks great. So we do that. I also do some redneck movie monologues, and there's a dipshit of the week segment, a bright spot of the week segment. It's great. It's a little variety show that I'm really proud of, and we've really had a lot of fun doing. So go subscribe to that. Join our Patreon if you'd like to. But, other than that, just share with your friends, and I hope you enjoy. Hope we're giving you some bonus content for you guys to enjoy during these weird times. And I love you guys, and y'all have a good one. Ski.